Hey everybody. Spirit has been talking so much to me this morning. And I've literally had to stew in this energy all morning while my daughter was awake because I had to wait for her to take a nap to make this video. And so now I finally laid her down. It's time to make this video and it's almost overwhelming. Like it just wants to come out of me. So I know that there's people that need to hear this message, and there's a lot of people out there that feel kind of stuck. And these recent energies in January really have pushed us to this point where we're ready to be unstuck. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. And so Spirit wants me to share some of my experience to help relay this message. The most beautiful thing about telling stories, it's one of the most creative, connective ways to get a point across, a message across. Spirit will use stories all the time. That's why when we're really closed off, but we're called to this work, it will eat away at you until you open up a little bit. I'm not saying share every little vulnerable experience you've ever had in your life, but a lot of the reasons that light workers went through the hardships they did during their life is so they can be relatable, so they can relate to other people in order to help them grow. And so along the way, I'm going to be more vulnerable on my channel and share more things that I've been through in order to relay these messages Spirit wants to get out through me. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. The story they wanted me to dive into in my life had to do with my marriage and my divorce. And the reason it's so fresh on me right now is because I had to go to court yesterday to finalize it. Finally, it's been years going through it. And so what happened with me and my marriage was about 5 years in is when I started waking up. And when I started waking up, it was it became so clear that this situation was more the marriage itself was more of a learning experience. It was those stepping stones to get to a different place. Eventually this timeline is going to cease and you're going to hop onto a new timeline and a new vibration to the next level of the video game, if you want to use the video game matrix analogy, right? And it's all vibrational. It's not hierarchical. Your vibration is what determines that, It's not, I'm better than you because somebody's vibing lower than you. No, we all have the same powers, the same capabilities. It's just different levels of the video game. It's all good. So don't judge yourself. That's what I mean by that. I will go off on tangents because that's how Spirit works through me, but I made an outline so I won't completely forget parts of the story because I'm just that person. I'm a little bit ADD. But a lot of light workers are, so you totally get it. It's you have a thought and you just got to get it out, Okay, so I started to see in my marriage when I started waking up a lot of the differences between me and my husband. Wow, maybe we don't have hardly anything in common, because the more I'm actually getting to know myself and taking off that mask I was wearing, the person I thought I was, this character I was playing, right? And started getting to know who I really was, I was whoa, this is not my person. And, he was feeling the same things too, but in his own way, in his own journey, he isn't on the same, spiritual path that I'm on. I wouldn't say he's not a spiritual person, I would say he's not on the same path. So anyways, I started realizing I was growing out of that timeline. I was starting to realize how things really work in the universe. And it was me letting go of old programming, this programming that you have to stay married forever, or this program you had kids together and now you're married, you have to stay married at least till the kids graduate, right? I had all these programs within me that were holding me back into this timeline. But finally, a couple dark nights of the soul later, I have mustered up the courage to actually do something about it. And so divorce is funny in that it can like bring out certain things in people, like insecurities, resentment, greed, revenge, hate, you know? For me, it was kind of like, so before I met my ex-husband, I got my bachelor's degree, got my master's degree, and then completely stopped working. I was done with school and then went and had a whole slew of kids. And it was like, I resented him because he was working. He was still getting to follow his passions, you know. Other moms can probably relate to me on this. That's why I'm sharing it. And it was like, I gave up like living 2 different geographical locations all over the United States, away from home, all that stuff, to follow him in the military and follow him in his career and follow him back home in California. And it was like, his home is in California. I'm from the East Coast. So it was like I kept making these sacrifices, and every sacrifice I would make would build up more resentment, you know? And that wasn't on him. Like, that wasn't necessarily his fault, because I was the one at the end of the day making those choices. And it took me a long time not to want to like blame somebody else for how I was feeling on the inside. So these are things that will get you stuck. Like these feelings of like resentment. And it's not just like in a relationship. I'm using this as an example. It could be a circumstance. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. It could be whatever, your career and work. Like, you're sitting and going to work the 9 to 5 every day, and you're building this resentment up inside of you because you're pissed. Like, you don't want to be doing this. Like, you want to be doing things that make you happy, but how do you even get out of it? Like, you don't know. You're just know you're uncomfortable and something needs to change, but it's like you can't quite raise your vibration high enough to connect with source to get those answers to change, because you keep repeating the same story. You keep putting those resentments and insecurities and like anger and all these things that are built up inside of you. You keep spewing those stories and feeling those lower vibrations, so you're not able to manifest those revelations that you're reaching for in order to move forward in a positive direction, in a direction that serves your highest good. And so these are things that are keeping us stuck. And it's like the little things. Your vibration is everything. I tell people that all the time. So when I initially woke up, I was listening a lot to Esther Hicks' work with Abraham. And it was so perfect timing, because I was just coming out of like a sleep mode, like program mode, like all up in the matrix. And when I was in that, I was not seeing my own shit. I wasn't seeing how I was treating other people, or how I was blaming other people for how I feel, you know? And so I started flipping that around, because I was just literally, I'd be cleaning all day, listening to Abraham Hicks. I listened to her nonstop, and it was like, when you consume yourself in that energy nonstop, it's like every little thing you do, you're like, I better be careful, because this can affect my vibration. Like, anyone who's listened to Abraham knows. People who are first waking up, I always push them in her direction, or guide them in her direction. And I kind of like grew out of listening to her. I do every once in a while for a little motivation, but it's a great place to start, because that's like becoming aware of yourself. Like, it really, really helps with that. And so it was the perfect timing for me, like trying to deal with my divorce and coming out of my marriage, because I was having to force myself to operate from a place of integrity and taking responsibility for myself. And those are the biggest things that get people stuck, because the ego just wants to blame, and it wants to like not take responsibility. And so like there's certain situations that you're kind of feel like stuck in. Like for me, like my marriage with my 4 kids and all that kind of stuff, I felt so stuck. I didn't have a job to just hop into. I had given up my career like years and years ago, you know, after college. It was like no experience, no job to just hop into, 4 kids to take care of, like no family because I had moved away from home. It was like fear. I was sitting in a lot of fear, but I was like still fighting for it, like on YouTube, finding people I resonated with, building that inspiration. I couldn't afford to like pay somebody to be my life coach. Like I had to be my own life coach, which is what any good life coach would do would be to guide you to your own self-empowerment. Like, a life coach shouldn't have like clients that just continuously are with them till the end of time. Those are more like your friends. You should be just empowering somebody. So, okay, now they figured out how to figure out their own connection, figure out their own answers, and they don't really need anyone else. You don't really need anything except for your connection to source. And I figured it out, you know. Not a lot of resources, but the main resource is just feeling good and maintaining a high vibration. Okay, off that rant, on to the next part of this story. I told you I go off on a million tangents. Okay, so you're in a place where you have to deal with a person or situation. So you can either choose a lower vibration by sitting in resentment and insecurities and greed. Like, people get really greedy, like when it comes to divorce contracts and stuff like that. And it was funny because for me, like my whole life, my sun and moon are both in Libra. I'm all about fairness and balance, and it is in my blood. I'm telling you, since I was a kid, it felt like if I got one extra piece of candy on accident as a kid, I would feel guilty for it. I'd be like, no, let's cut it in half. Like, I don't know. I've always been that way. So it's funny. So in my situation, it was kind of easier for me not to feel like, greedy and stuff like that. It was pretty much like, okay, let's just split everything in half. You know what I mean? Like, let's figure this out and be fair, and everybody can move forward and hopefully into new, brighter phases of their life. Me and him, there is no bad blood. And we went through a lot in our marriage. So like, there was reason, the ego thinks there's reason to have all of those, you know, lower vibrational feelings come up and blame and blame and blame. But when you can rise above that, that's when you level up vibrationally. That's when you start to manifest all these things that you desire. So the universe can't work its magic for you if you're choosing these lower vibrations. Like, you can make as many vision boards as you want and ask and ask and ask. But if you're vibrating and choosing at a low level and choosing these lower vibrations in terms of like how you treat other people and how you view situations and perceive situations, the universe can't, what you energetically put out is what you're going to get back. This is the law of attraction. Like, and it is so relentlessly consistent. Like, the law of attraction will always give you what you're vibrating. So you really have to keep that in mind, because you will get stuck. And you will feel so justified in how you feel. But I'm telling you, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And you're also like, it's like you're trying to do the universe's work for the universe. People, let me just switch this out, because I know I wrote something about this on the second page that I wrote. People like need to play out their own karma. You see what I'm saying? So when you go in and you try to like tell them, you owe me this in this divorce contract, or like, you did this to me during our relationship, you made me feel this way, you made me feel resentful because I had to give up living near my family, or if I had to give up my career, like, you made me feel this way. And when you do that, you interrupt the universe's work. Like, the universe will take care of them. It's not your responsibility to punish people, to hold this grudge. You know what I'm saying? And when you interrupt karma like that, you interrupt it for everybody. Like, you interrupt that cycle. Like, now they can't perceive it in a different way, because you just keep harping on the negative aspects of things. So you're not able to like rise up in your vibration. It holds you back. It holds them back. You're incredibly arrogant to think that it's your job to change somebody. The universe has them. Don't worry about it. Don't let the ego take the steering wheel. Connect to your higher self, and you won't even like want to spew all of those things out of you. Like, if you feel it, observe it. Like, oh, I'm feeling that. Do not react on it. Feel it and let it go. Tell your ego to go have a seat on the couch. That's what I say all the time. Like, go have a seat. The ego isn't going anywhere. We're always going to have to deal with it. We have a light side and a dark side, but we get to choose which aspect we live from. So, operating with integrity during my divorce process made me very confident because I knew, like, I know what I'm putting out. So I know inevitably, even if there's a little contrast along the way, I am going to receive what I'm putting out. So I wouldn't say I was perfect. Nobody's perfect through the entire process. Trust me, it is not easy to be perfect through a process like that. But it was like I treated him with respect. I was always very honest. I didn't hold anything back or like do a silent treatment. You know how you do in situations where there's tension, like it's like tit for tat type stuff. Like I had to come out of that. I had to just be forward. I had to just literally just say how I feel, but in a respectful way, and then be open to listen to the other person. Even if I was sitting there feeling like I didn't agree with them. It was just like they're at their place. They're from their perspective, and that's okay too, because that's their experience, and I'm not gonna be attached to caring what they think or like letting it affect me in a negative way, but still trying to work through it in a way where I can come out and be like, okay, I'm proud of the way I handled that situation, but I'm also so happy I can release it and move on, you know? So I trust the universe so much that I chose to go through my divorce with no attorney. And it wasn't just that I trust the universe so much. It was also because I couldn't afford one. It was like me, my family doesn't really have the means to, I'm not close to my family, I'll say that. So I don't really have assistance from them. So it's just me, far away from home. My mom would help me, like watch the kids and stuff if she was here, but she's not, you know. And it was me, you know, trying to figure everything out. I had limited resources. So I was like, I can't get an attorney, but guess what? I trust the universe so much that this is going to work. So in my Libran way, I was like, okay, we're going to split everything down in half. We're going to make this as fair as possible. We came to agreement. Beautiful. It was still nerve-wracking to go to court yesterday. This is why this is all coming up. Yesterday with no attorney. But I knew everything was fine. I knew it. Like everything was fine. And the thing about it is, it's not always okay to trust the universe so much to not have an attorney, because sometimes the situation calls for an attorney. And if you are, that's why connection is so important, because your clarity will be undeniable as to what step you should take in any situation. This is just like my example, right? So everything went smooth. I mean, I told you guys the energies have been heavy, but I had a little bit of that lifted. But they're still intense, but a little bit it was lifted because of this closure I had. But you want to know what? The moral of the story is I had the faith and the trust in the universe to overcome these serious fears, like survival fears, you know? And there's a lot that I'm still learning along the way, and I'm not saying that we are not going to have to make really uncomfortable changes, and I'm not saying it's not going to be scary as hell. But it's really about choosing where you want to vibrate, how you want to perceive a situation. Because if you choose to stay connected, you will have a deep sense of knowing. And that's where that faith and trust is like validated. That's where that clarity is. It's just like, you can't tell me this, you can't tell me that. Nobody can tell me anything because I know and I feel it in the depths of my soul what to do. And then once you level up, it's just going to be on to the next thing. It's going to be on to the next thing that's going to help us grow and level up even more. And start to really manifest these things that we truly desire, because we can stop blocking ourselves and live from a place of integrity and try to find love for those people that we feel like are a part of our contrast or are a reason for our contrast. We are always the reason for our contrast, but it's okay. Like, we're intentionally manifesting this for ourselves. We plan this so we could grow. We're here to grow. What is the whole point of this? I'm sorry, my dog's outside barking. She normally doesn't. What is the whole point of this experience if we're just here to just always have, every day is just blissed out, blissed out, blissed out? You would get to the point where you'd be numb to the bliss and you wouldn't even appreciate it because you never go through anything. That's the whole point. It's just a big paradox. There's so many paradoxes within this experience. So yeah, guys, that was what Spirit wanted to bring through today. It's our lack of integrity and our ignorance to our own shit and to how we interact with each other and to how we treat other people and to how we place ourselves into victim mode that gets us stuck. You don't have to be stuck. Being stuck is a choice. Perceiving situations in a negative way is a choice. Your life and how you live it is a choice. You staying in a career that you hate is a choice. You staying in a relationship you hate is a choice. You're just full of fucking choices. And then you refuse to acknowledge that you're capable of changing any one of those things in any given moment. You'll come up with a myriad of excuses as to why you can't leave this relationship right now, as to why you can't leave this job that you hate right now. When if you would just tap into your higher self, you would have all the answers and you wouldn't continue to like sit in your own shit. That's all you're doing. All you have to do is take a wash rag, clean your eyes off, and be aware of what exactly you're doing and saying in any given moment. How are you feeling? Your vibration. If you feel good and you feel easy and you feel this undeniable assurance that everything's always working out for you, you're good. And even in those crappy moments, acknowledging that they're supposed to happen and appreciating them, because those moments are going to make the amazing moments that much more amazing. I promise you. So once you start appreciating the contrast, treating people the way they deserve to be treated, perceiving situations in a way that will raise your vibration, you're unstuck. You're good to go. All right, guys, that's all Spirit had to bring through today. But I love you, and everything is always working out for you.